In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about two cases as I feel they are linked. I'm going to start with the case of Sujan Malik, which took place in the Korba district in India. Then I'm going to about Anil Gill. His crime took place in Milton Keynes, which is in the United Kingdom. Both of them killed their wife or girlfriend at the time. Both crimes were committed out of demanding love. If I can't have you, then nobody else will. That will be the central theme of today's video. I'll give you all the facts with Suhan and then I'll give you my opinion. I'll then give you all the facts of Anil and then I'll give you my opinion. So if you do end up liking this video, please subscribe, and if you do want to help support the channel, donation links are in the description. Now we start on December the 6th this year. So by the time you watch this video, I guess it would be last week where this crime took place. I'm going to go to the newspaper article. Police have arrested an Indian man after he brutally killed his girlfriend for refusing to marry him. The violent incident happened in the Korba district of Chhattisgarh. The pair got into a heated row after she reportedly told him she would only marry him based on his status. Status as in she would prefer him to be a doctor or lawyer or someone wealthy and well known in society. Police have identified the accused as Suhan Malik, aged 20. The victim was identified as 19-year-old Monica Mandal. They both lived in the town of Dari and had been in a relationship for 4 years. Their long-term relationship was the reason why Sujan wanted to marry Monica. As a result, he proposed to her. However, she refused. Sujan worked as a tutor in the area while Monica was still studying. He and Monica rented an apartment in the area, but Sujan also spent a lot of time at his parents' house. After the first refusal, Sujan continued to try and persuade her to marry him, but she did not change her mind. Her repeated refusals saw a change in Sujan's behavior. He became more withdrawn and was not eating properly. On December the 6th, 2021, Sujan phoned his girlfriend and threatened to commit suicide if she did not marry him. Monica had been at tuition at the time. Upon hearing this, she rushed home. At their apartment, the pair spoke about marriage again. Monica told the Indian man that his status would determine whether she married him or not. This angered Sujan, and an argument broke out between the couple. The row culminated with Sujan strangling his girlfriend before violently slamming her head into the ground, killing Monica instantly. Locals saw him frantically running away. They went into the house and saw the young woman's body. They then informed the family members, who took Monica to hospital. At the hospital, doctors declared her dead. Police officers were also informed. They arrived at the scene and questioned locals who said Sujan had fled to the forest. Officers went into the forest and eventually located Sujan, arresting him. At Dari police station, Sujan explained that he wanted to marry Monica, but she did not want to. He said her constant refusals enraged him and he killed her in anger. Sujan remains in custody and further investigations are underway. Meanwhile, Monica's body has been sent for a post-mortem. Now, I don't know what the actual outcome is yet of his trial because that will take place, but we all know he'll probably get life for 30 years or whatever it may be in India. First, I want to talk about this notion of status. For those that know, I'm Pakistani. Sujan and Monica were both Indian. The Pakistani Indian culture is practically the same. The major differences are religion. But in this case, when it comes to status and looking for your partner, the way it goes, the way the processes in both countries are practically the same in terms of, finding a suitable partner. When Monica looked at Sujan, she probably saw a child. She's 19, he's 20. So he is older than her, but the age difference is barely, they're practically the same. But whilst they had their own apartment, he'd spend a lot of time at his parents' house. The reason why he probably did this is because he cares for his like I don't mean this in a bad way, but in the Asian community, right? Indians, Pakistanis, Bengali, Sri Lankans, from what I know, certainly in my family and most families I know, we don't send our parents to old folks' homes when they're older, right? There's not a single parent or grandparent who are in old folks' homes. The kids look after them. They may not live with them, but the kids would generally be in the vicinity. One of the kids, like some of the kids might be abroad or whatever, living like I am, right? But there will always be the son or the daughter looking after the parents. Whereas in the Western world, you see a lot of them in old folks' homes, right? And this isn't a criticism; it's just an observation. The point that I'm making is that whilst Monica could have thought to herself, well, he's a mama's boy. Why is he always at his parents' house? He's a man now. He needs to take care of me. He's the one that's going to provide for me. I've been with him for 4 years. He needs to man up. While she may have been thinking this, and again, it's my own guess, it's all my own opinion. I'm just trying to give you further context, right? Perhaps that's what she thought. Sujan's mentality could have been, well, I don't care what girl I'm with. My parents are my parents and they will always come first, which is a very respectable notion. Then we come on to the continuous marriage proposals, right? He could have asked her continually because his parents put pressure on him, right? My parents did the same to me. Well, maybe not pressure, but I understand like a lot of Asian parents, South Asian parents, sorry, do put a lot of pressure on their kids to get married because marriage to them is the virtue of life, right? So they may have pressured him, but I don't think that was the case. I think Sujan was emotionally very weak. He relied on Monica emotionally, and she did not see him as a man. So he asked her to marry him. She says no. Okay, no problem. It happens. I respect him for asking, and I respect her for saying no. In fact, you could argue her saying no is a big thing because at least she had the courage to say no, right? A lot of people in that situation would just say yes because then maybe they'll feel embarrassed if they say no. You know what I'm trying to say, right? At least she was honest. But he kept asking, he kept asking. Then it came to the notion that he didn't eat properly. And I think this is where Monica lost all respect for him because in her head she's thinking, all right, this guy wants to marry me. Maybe not now, maybe in the future we will. But look how he's acting now. Look how he's acting now. What happens when we're married and we're together and something big happens? Like we have a mortgage and he loses his job, or we have kids and I lose my job and we don't have money. If he's reacting this way now to rejection, how will he react when it's something really, really serious? Right? So she probably thought, this guy's a child, he's not a man, he's not for me. Then we come on to him threatening to commit suicide, and I think for me, in Monica's head, this is probably where she lost all love for him and all respect, which is fair, because I don't know what he's thinking. Right? I understand he's emotional and he is young, and obviously I am considerably older than him, so it's easy for me to say. But for any man, if you tell a girl that you're going to kill yourself unless she bees with you, she's never going to be with you, mate. She might say to you, yeah, fine, I'll stay. She might be there for a month. She might be there for another year, right? But the reasoning isn't fair. You may harm yourself and not in you being a wonderful person and someone that she loves. She's with you by force and not by choice. And when you tell a girl that you're going to harm yourself, you're essentially telling her that you're kidnapping her thoughts, you're kidnapping her emotions, and you're telling her, well, if you're not going to be with me, I'm going to force you to be with me because I'm not letting you be with anyone else. And that was the result. When they spoke about marriage one last time, when they spoke about him, I think in that final conversation, she probably said it to him straight. She probably said to him, look, you're a weasel. You're pathetic. You're not for me. I thought you were, but the last 4 years have been undone by your recent behavior. You could say this was maybe this was their first big real problem in their relationship, which is great. Problems are great. They're healthy. Do you know what I mean? And look at how he acted. He killed her because he just couldn't handle being alone and he couldn't handle the notion of someone else being with her. So now we come on to Anil Gill. He was age 47 and he lived in Milton Keynes, which is in the United Kingdom. The reason why I've chosen these two stories to combine is because they both killed their significant other, but Sujan was 20, Anil is age 47. And it just goes to show that weakness, ego, and being obsessive over someone, so to speak, is not really age dependent. I've always said that as you get older, you should be able to cope better. But that's me being naive because everyone is different. But let's get to the facts. So Anil was convicted of murdering and stabbing his wife 18 times. The body of Ranjit Gill, and I believe she was around 37, 38 at the time, was found wrapped in a duvet and black bin liners at their home in Beresford Close on January 31st, 2021. Luton Crown Court heard that the couple had been happily married and lived in Bedford. Now in 2010, the couple moved to Milton Keynes. However, prosecutor Charles Ward Jackson, he said that things took a turn for the worst after Gill lost his job and Ranjit's health deteriorated. Mr. Ward Jackson said he was a dominating person who would bully her on occasions and use threatening and violent behavior towards her. Ranjit had been threatened with a knife, a sword, and had been pushed down the stairs by her dominating and bullying husband. In October 2018, police attended their home after reports of a domestic incident, but Ranjit would not say what happened. When Ranjit's sister advised her to leave Gill, she feared he would hunt her down and kill her. As I said in the beginning, if I can't have you, nobody else will. The court heard there were instances of reported domestic abuse, and prosecutors said the couple had begun to take drugs and alcohol. Ranjit ended up having an affair, and Gill considered divorce proceedings but retracted those. The couple looked to have patched things up in January of 2021, but evidence showed that Gill was searching the internet on matches, which showed his increasing preoccupation with his own sexuality. Mr. Ward Jackson said a gay element was creeping into his internet searches, and in addition, there were also searches carried out by him in connection with his wife's sex life. He said he was obsessively looking at sexual references to his wife. Now, on the night of the killing, evidence showed that they had cocaine delivered, and Gill was looking on the internet for gay pornography. At 1 a.m., a neighbor heard a woman screaming, which the prosecution said was likely to be the sound of Ranjit being stabbed to death. Mr. Ward Jackson said that after stabbing his wife 18 times, Gill played reggae music to calm himself down. He then spent a few hours cleaning up and wrapping Ranjit's body in a duvet and black bin liners. He dragged the body to the garage. Gill then used bleach to clean the living room carpet. At 10 a.m., Gill called the police, telling the operator. He said, "She forced me to take cocaine. I didn't want to. She's addicted to drugs and she's having an affair." The police then arrived and discovered Ranjit's body in the garage. Ranjit's death was caused by 4 deep and significant injuries to her chest. At his trial, Gill admitted to a lesser charge of manslaughter, claiming that he stabbed his wife in a frenzy after losing self-control. However, the jury rejected his claims and found him guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 22 years. The judge in the case described this murder as a ruthless and cold-blooded, with a significant number of aggravating factors. I am satisfied the minimum term to be served of 22 years reflects the severity of this awful crime. Okay, so let's look at the turn of events. He lost his job and Ranjit started to have medical issues. Now, that's challenging for all couples, for any couple, but I think even though they had problems before this, I think Anil then just felt worthless. He's a man, he needs to provide for his wife is sick, he wants to take care of her, he can't. My guess is he probably started to turn to cocaine and alcohol to cope, and she turned to cocaine and alcohol to cope with him. You understand what I'm saying? He took drugs to cope with his current life situation, she took drugs to cope with being around him. This idea regarding her sister, where she said if Ranjit left, then she felt Anil will hunt her down and kill her. This is serious. This wasn't just in the moment being, overly emotional. This is because of all the domestic abuse. She knew that if she'd left, he would kill her. How pathetic of a man do you have to be to lay your hands on a woman? You got to ask yourself, why did she have an affair? People have affairs all the time and there's always a reason. I'm not saying it's justified, but context is everything. If he was hitting her, beating her, verbally abusing her, if he was aggressive with her, and if he, my guess, and again, this is my own personal opinion, my guess would be if she went out He would wonder where she is. If she had male friends, that would make him insecure. Maybe he went through her phone, etc., etc. The whole jazz, right? You see what I'm saying? So I think she went and had an affair because she wanted to feel, she wanted the touch of a man, right? She has her own needs. Sex and physicality is not just about the looks of a person. That's like 10% of it. The way that person makes you feel, the mental connection, the when you hold them, when you touch them, that to me plays a much bigger role than the initial physical attraction. And it seems to me all of that was gone every single time she looked at him, for all the way he was acting throughout, the past 5 to 10 years before he murdered her. And regarding to him stabbing her 18 times, that's him releasing his emotions, the pain he felt. And of course he would have been pained knowing she had an affair, and the image of her having an affair must have ran through his head over and over and over again. I think each stab he's essentially thinking in his head, why the pain? Why the pain? Why did you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? And to tie these two together, what we have are two men who couldn't understand that it's your duty to remain calm. Regardless of what you think about relationships and how relationships work and whether the man is right or whether the woman is wrong. So if we tie these two cases together now, what we have are two men at different spectrums of age with the same emotional tendencies, with the same impulsive tendencies, both having big egos. But when I say ego, what I mean is, how dare you do this to me, right? It was about them. How dare you refuse my marriage proposal? How dare you have an affair? Well, of course you're refusing your marriage proposal. You're acting like a child. And of course she's going to have an affair. You've been beating her for the past 5 years. What do you expect? The lack of responsibility, particularly in the case of Anil, is astonishing. And I think we can all agree that both women did not deserve this. I don't care if she rejected your marriage proposal. If she did, go find someone who will accept you. Go show the world who you are. Grow up, stand up, do something. Your life should not be defined by someone else. And in the case of Anil, you're 47 years old. You've lived in England for the majority of your life. You are originally from India. You have a great mix of culture, a great mix of experience, and you should be old enough to know that the way you behaved was going to end up in this. May both of them never ever be released into society. Thank you for listening.